Hi everyone, and welcome to my solution to combine two tables. This is Leetcode problem number 175, which is a database problem that we will be using MySQL to solve. When we first open up the problem, what we see is two tables. We see a person table and an address table. The person table includes column names person ID, last name, and first name. And then the address table includes address ID, person ID, city, and state. So the first thing we notice when we see these two tables is that person ID is shared in both tables, which is going to be important moving forward because now we have a table that has the same name, and in this case, it'll have the same data. So it's a method that we can use to link these two tables together. So then we can scroll down to our prompt, which is kind of going to be like what we're expected to get out of the problem. So write an SQL query to report the first name, last name, city, and state of each person in the person table. If the address of a person ID is not present in the address table, report null instead. So the catch for this problem is if the address of a person ID is not present in the address table, report null instead. So this cuts down on our possible paths forward just because of the way that Leetcode wants the problem reported. And this is mainly going to cut you down to just using joins to solve this problem. And again, return the result table in any order. But they do want first name, last name, city, and state. So they want the columns in that order, which we can see here with our example. So we can see that we're going to be given two inputs, which is the person table and the address table, as stated above, and then we're expected to output a table that looks like this. So they want first name, last name, city, and state in that order with, if we look at this, we'll see that Alan Wang and Bob Alice are the only two people reported, despite there being a third person ID, which is shown in the address table. We only want the person IDs that are given to us in the person table. So we can accomplish this by just writing a standard select statement and then using a join to join these two tables. So that's going to look something like select, and then we're going to put the column names that they want us to report. So we can scroll up to our prompt. We want first name, so first name with the capital N because that's how it comes to us from the person table. So then we can look at last name, which is again capital N, just because that's how it's given to us. And then city and state. So the first thing to look at here is, do we have any ambiguous column names, or can we just leave them like this to get the result we want? So when we look at our two tables, we see person ID is really the only column name that's shared between the two tables. Last name is not in the address table, and first name isn't either, and then city and state are not in the person table. If there were ambiguous columns, we would have to delineate what table they came from. So that would look something like person dot first name, and then again address dot city. But in this case, there are no ambiguous column names, so we can just leave them as the column names that we see them as, because SQL will know which table it comes from because that's the only instance that column name shows up. So then we're going to select from which table are we selecting from. So in my mind, I would select from the table that we are matching our data to. So we want all person IDs reported from the person table. So in this case, I'm going to do from person, which is just the table name that we're trying to retrieve all person IDs from. And then in this case, we're going to do a join. And then the way a join is set up is you need the table that you're joining to. So in this case, we're joining to address. And then you have to have an on statement, which is going to be which column name do these two tables share? Which data is going to match up so that the two tables can be combined? So in this case, we're going to do on, and we're going to do address, which is just the table name that we're joining to. So address dot person ID equals person dot person ID. And the reason we have to do this dot notation here is because this column name is ambiguous. So it's going to show up in both tables, so we have to delineate which column from which table is equal to which column in this other table. So in this case, person and address, they both have the person ID, and that's where we want to join them. And in this case, this will not work because this is a full join. So this will select based on where all instances are there. So this will only select where a city and a state are available, as well as a first name and last name. So if we scroll down to our example, we should, with a full join, only select Alice Bob, because in the address table, there is no person ID for Alan Wang. So Alan Wang will just not be selected. And we can see this if we run this code. We'll see that only Bob Alice is selected for. So the way we remedy this is just doing a left join instead. And the way a left join works is you're going to do all instances from the table that you connected with in your from statement. So this will work. This will select all instances from person, which is what the problem wants us to do, and we can see accepted. But if we were to swap these two table names around, so put address here and person here, this will not work because this is going to do 2 and 3 from the address table. So it's going to do all instances from the address table. So if we run this code, what we're going to see now is we get the person ID 3, which is null null Leetcode California, and then we also get Bob Alice again. So just the way that you remedy this, so say you want to put address first, that makes the most sense to you. You can just switch this to a right join. Because what a right join does, and we're going to keep with notation and keep all SQL related functions and keywords in all caps. But what a right join does is it's going to select from what is beside your join statement. So it's not going to select all instances from address, it's going to select all instances from person, which was the same as flipping these two and using a left join. So in this case, this should work. And if we run the code, we'll see that it does indeed work. And then one little thing that we've noticed here is this looks a little long. We can shorten this up a little bit and just condense it a little. So in SQL, you do this by renaming your table. So all that's going to do is just give you a different reference, like what you would use to reference the table. So all you have to do is put a space beside whatever table you're going to rename, and then just put in whatever letter you want to assign to it. So you can do an A, you can really do anything here that makes sense to you and allows you to keep track of the table while condensing it down. So I'm just going to do A and P because that's the first letter of each one. And then all that allows me to do is just shorten my table name. So I'm just going to do A and then P. And then this again will run the exact same. It just looks a little bit cleaner. So that was joins, as well as the solution to problem number 175 of Leetcode, which is combine two tables. I would like to thank you all for listening to my solution, as well as if you have any suggestions on how you would have approached this problem instead, or suggestions to which problem I should do next. Please leave those in the comments down below, and subscribe, as I will be going through the rest of these Leetcode problems and just giving different points of view on how to solve the problems and ways that might be useful for you to learn SQL. And I would like to thank you all, and I'll see you next time.